to support people after they've been through a crisis. So I was involved in the Christchurch mosque attack, and we've had ships kind of stuck out at sea, and one recent one was the Greg Mortimer. So I've been supporting people on board ships. So I guess what I'd call myself is a trauma psychologist, really. But I recognise, and actually I'm going to share a screen. Is that okay, Jason? Yeah. Just to go straight into my PowerPoint. Yeah. Okay, no, sorry, hang on. Where am I? This is where I want to be, up here. The screen all goes wonky when I've got Zoom on. Okay, cool. So I was just going to introduce myself through my logo, really, because being a trauma psychologist has taught me that when people are outside of their comfort zones, or when they've been exposed to too much stress or too much fear or too much trauma, is that we shut down. So our ability to kind of think creatively, and our ability to innovate, and our ability to get along with others, it all just shuts down. It shuts people down. Too much stress and trauma. And some of you might know kind of the amygdala hijack. So what I really kind of work with people, and what I really love about, I guess the way I practice, is that I first focus on trying to create strong foundations for people through really keeping that parasympathetic nervous system engaged. And when people feel safe and secure within themselves and with other people, then you've got this nice strong foundation of which people can then leverage up to build up, to have growth and good learning, and to self-actualize. But without that strong foundation and our basic needs met for safety, then people really struggle to grow and to learn. And so that's sort of the bottom. The one part of what I do is creating those strong foundations for people, and the other side, I kind of think, well, I'm a positive psychologist, and I draw on a lot of the positive psychology research, because I think having a platform for growth doesn't always give you the impetus to grow. So you have quite a lot of other tools that are needed to be able to step outside of your comfort zone and learn and grow and become become in a flourishing state. They're two different things needed. So I guess what I do is try and look at the spectrum, taking someone who's become traumatized or too stressed to then reduce that trauma and stress, and then move to the next side of the continuum to actually put them in a position that they can maximize their growth. How does that sound? I've been doing it for about 20 years. I really love what I do. And I work with all sorts of populations now. So this is really kind of cool, being able to share my knowledge with you guys, and about something I'm pretty passionate about, which is coaching. There's so much that can come out of sports for kids' resilience and other people's resilience. So I'm pretty happy to be here. How does that sound, Jason? Did I?
You're very good, thanks. Yeah, that's great.
Is that enough of an introduction?
Yeah, that's great. You're also a football coach, I believe, is that right?
Well, not very good. I started doing football coaching, soccer coaching for my kids when they were 5, but then the little buggers kept on getting better than me, so I had to play soccer, and then that was amazing and I loved it, but I kept injuring myself. So now I don't know how far I can go with it, because they've all got better than me and what I can provide. So I'm trying to outsource that and be the growth mindset sports psych guru, and then draw in other people who can do the technical side of things. Cool.
I've got a couple more people. Got Lorraine. Oh, sorry.
I have to say, I'm going to expect hopefully we can create the conditions for people to step into some vulnerability here. And I have to say, I don't like webinars. So this is something that I struggle with, because I'm used to working with people one-on-one and quite organically. So I think we're just going to have to see how we go. This is new for me. But I think, as I'm going to talk about in this seminar, I have this little trait of watching all the most brilliant people do webinars in the world and going, right, that's the way I need to be. We need to do that. And then feel like I'm falling short. So I think what we're going to be talking about today is being courageous and just starting. And we're all in what I'll describe as the learning zone here. So I think the success around doing a webinar like this is at least connecting and then learning things as we go. So if I'm a bit stop and starty or seeking reassurance from Jason, that would be why, because I'm pretty much sitting way outside my comfort zone right now.
Very good. I think we all have been having to learn a lot about technology and virtual meetings and things like that. And so what we're going to go through, the slides and everything, I'll be able to send out to you. And I'm recording the session as well. So I'll also be learning how to trim up the video so we can send it out to you. So don't panic about the slides, we can get those to you. And the main objective really today is to give you a couple of tools that you can, when you hang up from this today, there's a couple of tools or ideas that you can use to maybe help you move forward. Once again, you can take what you like and really support him. Actually, we're going to have breakout rooms later on and hopefully use that technology. And Kristen's got something interesting which I haven't seen before in this too, where you can actually interact directly through the slides. So I'll be interested to see how that goes because I want to learn about that too. So
yeah. So on that note, does everyone have access to a mobile device, like a mobile phone? Could you all go to your mobile phone then and type in www.menti, MENTI.com and type in the code you'll see come up. Oh, come on. If you can see the screen now. Is that sharing okay for everyone? Can you not see the screen?
No, not the screen, no.
Oh, so I'm sharing is paused. Oh, okay, stop. Hang on, okay. So let me share screen again. Thanks for that, everyone. Can you now see that? The presentation. Am I sharing screen? Okay.
Yep, up the top there.
What's everybody looking at?
I've got your slide with the
yeah, cool. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you go to www.menti.com, you'll see a place to put in the code, and the code will be 383263. I guess if anyone can put in the chat too how you're going with that, or just unmute and tell me if that's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Great, thank you. Is that Barry?
It is,
yeah.
Thanks, Barry. Okay, just make sure we've got it all right. I've got one chat, someone's saying chat. All good for me, excellent, thank you. Sports Taranaki. I'm just going to jump into it then, is that cool?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay, right, good. Right, so I think the thing that I wanted to set up today is this kind of concept that we're all in the learning zone now. Is everyone, this is where it's difficult. You can perhaps unmute if you do know of the learning zone and performing zone concepts. Or not, that's okay too. So you just have to listen to me tell you about it again. So sorry to teach you to suck eggs if anyone's aware of this, but I've got the TED at the bottom, Eduardo Brechenko, who talks about this, and he talks about there being two sort of zones. Oh, okay, chat, hang on. So chat, I'm watching on the mobile, I'll grab my laptop. Okay, yeah, fair enough. He talks about two zones. So when you're in the learning zone, you expect different things of yourself and others to when you're in the performance zone. So if you're thinking about for coaching, when someone's in a training scenario, you're trying out new things, you're giving them instructions, and you are aiming for improvement and trying out different things and seeing how it goes. And here mistakes are sort of generally okay. There's not a great cost if you are making mistakes when you're in a training session versus if you're in the performance zone, which is actually in a game. And it's the same, I kind of just described like a surgeon working on a particular new technique on a cadaver. Okay, you're in the learning zone, make mistakes there. But actually when you're doing surgery on me, I don't want any mistakes. I want you to work your ass off to minimize all mistakes and get everything right. But I think we sometimes confuse the two, that like in a situation like this, I could perceive myself to be in a performance zone. I've got to give you all the right information. It's got to go really smooth. The success is that everyone thinks it's amazing and it's all gone smoothly. Well, I'm sorry. Webinars and online stuff is new for a lot of us. So if I can work with you in this learning zone in which people please sing out if something's not working or if it doesn't make sense, or then I'm okay with making some mistakes and I'll learn from those. And I think that's probably a good thing just to, when we move into the matrix in a little bit, is to think about, okay, if I'm being courageous and if I'm trying something new, does it mean that the focus of me doing this is to minimize my mistakes, make it go all perfect, get 100% positive feedback, make sure that no one's, thinking anything less of me if I make a mistake here, because I'm usually in a situation where I've got all the answers and I'm the expert and I can really nail this. But unfortunately, we're in a new situation here and having to do new things, that there are going to be mistakes. And I think unless they're, I'll go to the next slide, unless they're sloppy mistakes, this is what Eduardo Bachenko talks about as well, and I really like it, that unless we're kind of not making sloppy mistakes where we're kind of just doing the same thing over and over and over again, where we kind of then have to step back and say, okay, well, why am I doing that? Why do I keep doing that? Even if you're in a new situation, that we're making stretch mistakes. So actually, why did I make that mistake? Well, this is new to me. I've tried something different. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I was in a situation where it was completely okay to make some mistakes. There wasn't any great negative consequence of that. So when we're looking at being courageous, I think this is where we're all at right now, or most of us. Unless you're in surgery, you don't want to make a mistake there, or you're the leader who's trying to work out this pandemic and making sure we do the right things. You don't want to make a lot of mistakes there. What's the code again? Okay. My 383263. Someone just asked for the code again, 383263. So a lesson there is making sure we get all this code out to you beforehand. So yeah, and then the stretch mistakes are okay also when you're in the learning zone, and also aha moments where it's like, oh, well, unless I'd tried that, stepped outside of my comfort zone, tried something new, I would never have learnt what I've learnt now. So it's really balancing out, I think, what type of, not balancing out, it's just knowing where you are when you take on something new. It's mostly in the learning zone, and some level of mistakes are going to be okay. And that's how we learn. I think the learning is in the doing here, not from all the prep work, not from making sure I know everything about this and making it all perfect. I don't think so much learning comes from that, because as soon as you get into the situation, lots of different things are going to happen. You're going to be interacting with different people. And I think that's collectively where the learning happens. So, okay. So how can we, I'll go, half of you are covering my screen, so I'll just go to my notes here. How can we maximize our time in the learning and growth zones and minimize our time in the fear zone? Because as I said before, when we go outside of our comfort zone, well, I didn't say this before, sorry. I said that trauma and stress can shut us down. And I think that's what happens when we go outside our comfort zone. And some of us have got, I've met people whose comfort zones are ridiculous. They're off climbing Mount Everest. And my comfort zone now is being extended by doing a webinar. So just, it depends on all our experiences about where our comfort zone sits. Some people will be able to extend right out. Others, it'll be less. You will be going less outside your comfort zone, and everything's okay. We're all different experiences. But I think it's important to know that when you do step outside your comfort zone, your amygdala is going to be activated. You don't know, you don't have all the answers. There's new terrain, things are unpredictable. You are lacking in certainty. And our bodies don't like that very much at all. We don't like uncertainty. We don't like not feeling in control. Now, it depends on who you are and what level of stress or experience you've had in this as to how your body responds. But for a lot of us, we're going to get that heightened stress. Our amygdala is going to come, the amygdala, which is responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze response, it's just going to get activated. And what I describe to people is that when that happens, if you put your hands out to the side of you, when we're calm, we're in a comfort zone and we're relaxed and everything's going well and it's predictable and I've got this. I'm doing what I know. This is awesome. I'm in the performance zone. I'm doing what I know. This is good. You have access to all this information, and you can think quite creatively and novelly and outside the box. But as soon as you get stressed, jump, you start to narrow and you lose access to a whole heap of information. And that's what can be. So unless you know how to actually recognize, okay, I'm actually getting stressed, and I'm shutting down the prefrontal cortex, which is all the great thinking part of the brain comes in, then you become quite emotional, and you can, some more than others, I'm definitely there, and your thinking can become quite distorted. So we start to see more catastrophic thinking, more rigid thinking, black or white. We personalize, and we have unconscious bias being activated here. We're starting to see patterns where perhaps, they're not there, and it's unhelpful. So we have to know how to manage that feeling. If we're going to be courageous, like, there's all these great messages out there about courage, and they're lovely, but they're a little bit, okay, it's lovely. That's lovely, that motivational quote on being courageous. But unless you know how to actually do that and how to manage the stress response, that fight, flight, or freeze, it's very difficult to branch out of there. If you want to be courageous, the flip side of that, and you want to stretch yourself, get outside of your comfort zone and learn new ways of doing things, then the flip side of that is you are going to feel vulnerable. The level of vulnerability you feel will be determined by you, your habits that you've formed over your life, what level of resilience that you've developed, what your social support's like. There's a lot of different things that will determine how vulnerable you can be. But the flip side of courage, I think, is vulnerability, and how you sit with vulnerability, shame, fear, being imperfect and being okay with that, I think makes a huge difference to how you're going to be able to be courageous. And on that note, I use this template, this matrix, well, we call it the matrix, a lot. So I've just got to keep an eye on the time because I really want to get into this. Use this matrix a lot. I don't use it a lot. I use it pretty much in everything I do because it gives a framework to everything that I believe we need to know about if we're going to live our values. So if I'm going to get you to do this in a minute in breakout rooms. If I ask you, what is the most important thing? And a lot of people will say there's family and going through to our values of having integrity or being kind and compassionate or being courageous in this instance. Now, that's all well and good. That's really important to you. But often there's things that come up that get in the way of us taking actions to be courageous. And that can be fear. It could be shame, wanting to be perfect. If we get it wrong, what does it say about us? Negative thinking. This is the book. You can see I use this a lot. And that's kind of the stuff that we're filling out here. So here it's anger, resentment, feeling detached, reoccurring thoughts, negative thoughts, imagining the worst, thinking I can't do it. When we're stressed, we start to get more negative in our thinking. And as sports coaches, you'd notice that, the visualization method. I talk to clients as well about being on a mountain. And when I was taught how to snowboard, is that he taught me very much to not look where I didn't want to go. So this is over here is looking where you don't want to go. I'm scared of those rocks. And now I'm originally from Australia, but I'm a Kiwi now. And it cracks me up on Mount Ruapehu. It's like, there's no barriers or anything. There's just kind of some advice, like, don't go over here because there's a cliff and you might die. Okay. So I was really scared when I first got here that it's sort of just an offering of I suggest you don't go over here, and people do die up there. So I was quite scared, and I kept looking over at these rocks, and it kept impacting on my boarding. And so he said, you got to look where you want to go. Focus your attention on visualize where you want to go. Visualize success over here. Visualize how you want to be over here. And that's obviously going down a nice gentle slope over there. And as soon as I learnt that, your body follows. And that's the analogy I use for over here, is that we are all going to get caught up on, our brain is like a processor. And when we get tired, when we get stressed, when we get fatigued, when we're outside of our comfort zone, it tends to start to think, am I safe? Do I need to be worried about something? And we start to get more negative in our thinking. And it starts to focus our attention on that fear. What happens then is that our behavior follows. Just like my behavior follows on the mountain, as I'm scared, so I'm now in the bloody rocks rather than down beautiful slope. So what we're trying to teach you, and I'm going to get you guys to do just in probably 1 more minute, is that we recognize what's going on the inside of me. What am I feeling here? And we get you to be able to identify that. If you can't name it, you can't tame it. And a lot of times we don't stop. Take a breath. As John Kabat-Zinn, who's a master mindfulness teacher, says, between stimulus and response is a moment in the middle. And if we can create some more space in between stimulus and response, we get a better way of behaving rather than reacting to the fear. So over here, we might see people do things like avoid or over prepare and you get yourself in such an anxious state that you end up kind of cocking things up. I did that this week. And so was that really helping me, or is it actually taking me further away from what I value here? Drinking, criticizing, blaming, gambling, avoiding, these are some of the things I see. What this matrix teaches you, and it's based on acceptance and commitment therapy, is that it teaches you to recognize all this happening, notice all of it happening, and manage the process, manage the inner dialogue, notice what's going on here, and that you don't have to act on this. It can be there. You're like, yep, brain, thank you very much. I get you're processing a lot, but I don't have to believe everything you say. In actual fact, is this really helping me, this thought? Is it linked with evidence from the outside, or is it just my own fear and insecurities here? So we get people to self-care and soothe and be mindful, which we'll hopefully get to with this. And then we instead get them to focus on their actions. So even in the presence of this, what can I actually do? What can my behavior be? Even if I'm feeling like this on the inside. So in actual fact, if I think it's okay to say this, I shat myself from doing a webinar earlier this week. So when Jason asked me to do this, I was like, But I trust Jason. I like Jason a lot. And I thought, gosh, well, we're in the learning zone. This is something I can, yes, I will. I'll step into it and I'll do this again. So I'm feeling quite uncomfortable, but I'm practicing my self-care and my mindfulness, and I really love what you guys do. And so it's worth it. The discomfort that I'm feeling right now is worth it because I believe in this and it's really important to me. So I'm putting myself up here, and that's taking me closer to what I value. So that's what I want to do for the rest of this session, is to actually get you into breakout rooms, and using Mentimeter, you'll see the next question on the slide is to what is most important to me. And I thought, actually, no, what I want to do is actually do that together. And then I want to do the breakout room, because I think this is a pretty safe place to do it all together. Now, if anyone wants to unmute and just talk that through about what they've written, that's awesome. If you don't, then I'll cope, because I'm learning how to kind of sit with no feedback and just keep going. So that's also fine. But if you can actually answer this question on Menti, that would be awesome. Now. And we'll see it pop up once you've answered them. Is anyone having any trouble? 3, 8, 2, 6, 3. I'll do the first one.
They all come through to you, do they, Kristen? Do you get a...
Pardon?
Do they come through to you? Do they have...
It should come up here. So if everyone's on their device, or they can switch over to another part of their screen on the computer and type in www.menti.com. You'll see it on my screen here. Oh, great. So I'm going to say creative, honest, family. So this is what is most important to us in terms of our values. And it can be through to family, keeping healthy, being professional, having integrity. I love learning. I love being able to say sorry. No, I don't love it. I'm having to say sorry a lot at my house at the moment. I don't really enjoy that at all, but I believe in it. It's important to me. If I've stuffed something up, own it. Accountability. So that's kind of, yeah. Wow, accountability is coming out strong. So I can see down the bottom here how many people have answered. So Jason, how many have we got? We've got 18 participants. So I've answered as well. Jason, have you? You're muted. Can you unmute?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So when we see, if you answer as well, we should have 18 people down here. I'm on as well. I did it as well. So family. Yeah. Okay. Creative, compassion, stay healthy, honesty, accountability, family, integrity, honesty. Coming out is really strong. Yeah. I'm going to wait just for a couple more. Still strong with those kind of looking like accountability, honesty, family, professionalism. Okay. I'll just leave it just a couple more moments to see if anyone else has got any more coming through. As the others are kind of thinking about it, often I find in workplaces that we have these beautiful values up on the wall or on coffee mugs, and sometimes some organisations are so ridiculous that it's almost like they've got a sign writer coming across every day to put the values up in the air. It's on the toilets, it's on the walls, but there is not this sense of the values being lived on a day-to-day basis. There's not the sense of people knowing what to do if they see other people not living those values. So it's one thing to know this, but it's another thing to know, how do I live my life in accordance with these values? And how do I live my life when I'm having barriers that try and hook me in to take me away from it? So if we see another worker behave in a way that goes against our values, well, how do I have that conversation with them? What's my behavior there? If I don't act on it, am I going to feel stink? If I do act on it, then could I rupture the relationship? So it's very difficult sometimes to know how to live these values consistently, but this is what the ACT matrix sort of tries to get us to think about in all of the actions that we do. Okay, what I'm going to do is move on then. It looks like we've got a webinar today where we're kind of really, Jason and I talked about whether we'd focus on courage and what courage looks like for you guys and being able to take the courage to do new things. But honestly, we can just do whatever feels organic to you, because you can apply the same process anywhere in your working life or home life. So if you want to focus on family and we can learn from that. If you want to focus on how can I be more courageous within my role, then we can focus on that. Jason, you've got control here. So can you put people into their meeting rooms? And if you will, you all have access still to your Menti. So the next question I have perhaps to do, you've already gone ahead, show offs. Okay, cool. So go into meeting rooms and just have a think, well, what does show up inside of me? It's the internal stuff. No, so, okay, yeah, always, this is the stuff here that gets in the way of us being able to live consistently with our values, to honour our values, to behave in a way that takes us closer to our values. So I value having a family that is able to communicate without yelling at each other and have a loving and close and harmonious family. My husband has been driving me insane. And so sometimes I'll get angry and get triggered by that. And then I'm going to say things to discharge my anger. I'm feeling angry and frustrated and possibly hurt by something he said. I don't give myself enough time between stimulus and response. And I go, rah! And then the hurt that I cause to him by me just being angry and in my limbic system where I'm not thinking clearly and I'm just not proud psychologist moment, but I'm saying things that are hurtful. And it takes me away from what's most important to my family. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about now. What internal stuff gets in the way of me living the values that are important to me, of behaving in a way that takes me closer to what's most important to me. So frustration, conflict, wearing lots of hats, distraction, fear, doubt, non-clarity, emotions, being sensitive, feeling like your self-worth is being questioned. That's definitely the stuff that we see can get in the way. Do we want to go, Jason? How's it working out for everyone? Should we try a breakout room and just see if anyone wants to talk about that experience?
Yeah, I think so. So just to get some clarity, these are the stories. These are the stories that we tell ourselves about. These are the things I'm not good at presenting, but that's the story we tell ourselves. That type of thing.
That, and where's that based in? What's that based in? I'm not good at presenting. I'm going to stuff something up. People are going to know more than me. I'm not going to look polished. I'm not going to look like I know what I'm talking about 100% of the time. That's the stuff that can hook us. And if we believe that story, then we can take action on it. And it may take us away from what's most important right now. We're all in the learning zone. We don't have to be polished here. The learning is in the doing here. And I think that if we listen to those voices and take action on them, then it can take us further away. So that's the next question is what do you do to act on this stuff? But right here and right now, it's like my inner monologue saying, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You don't know how to do this. I don't have the answers. This might not work out. And is that based in fear? Is it based in shame, insecurity? That's the kind of stuff that is written here, and it can lead to those internal thoughts that are negative and distorted, cognitive distortion, catastrophizing, over-personalizing, black and white thinking are some of the cognitive distortions that we get when we're afraid and stressed. And if we act on them, so we might avoid something, and it's going to make us feel a bit better in that moment, but it can limit our growth. The growth comes from sitting with the discomfort sometimes. So does that clarify? Anything that comes up inside of you that gets triggered, let's say, that if you act on it, it's going to take you away from your values. That's what we're talking about, the internal stuff that can activate, that can take us away from what's most important from us.
Cool. Well, we'll do the breakout rooms. We'll set some rooms up and we'll see how we go.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Dylan. No worries. Dylan's on Zoom, so he's going on.
I'll chuck you in. So I'll put you in the room, Kristen, you're in the room so you can stay or leave.
Am I in a room now?
You should get a
Get a room, Jason. Sorry. See, I probably can't jump into rooms, can I, Jason? You can I?
Yeah, I've got you. You haven't joined yet, but that's okay because we can have a chat about the next bits.
So is it just us now?
Yes, yep. Well, Kelly's here. I'll unmute Kelly. And stuff like that. Cool. So how long do you want to give them in this piece?
Yeah, good question. So let's say it's 20 to 3 now. If we say, because we've sort of started this quite a bit, if we just say sort of 3 minutes here.
Okay.
And then the next 2 are the kind of, well, they're all important, but that would be where I'd like them to spend more time. So sort of 5 minutes. So a couple more minutes here, 5 minutes for the next slide and 5 minutes for the next slide after that, which is 10. And then that's 5 minutes to kind of wind up, which will include some conversation, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you want to hear anything from the breakout groups?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll give another couple of minutes and then we'll say, like, who would like to share from their group? just really quickly.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could get some people talking.
Yeah. So what I normally do, I jump into the rooms as well and just sort of listen to what's coming up.
Yeah.
So you can jump into that room that you're invited to. Have you got that there?
No. How do I do that?
You should have a little thing coming up, join room. Maybe it's.
Do I need to stop share perhaps?
So maybe to.
Oh yeah, I was on share, so that's why I couldn't do it. I see it now. Should I go in?
Yeah, just jump in for a minute and just see how they're getting on.
All right, breakout room 2.
Fletcher's courage. Hey, Fletcher's courage in saying to us last week that he felt like he didn't have the credibility to do this job or to be in this space. That's very similar to me in that fear that there's someone else that's going to be in the room that's going to have more knowledge and it's going to be better than yeah. So that's very similar to you, Ash.
Yeah, and that'll be probably the same for me as well, I imagine, in terms of that, the doubt and the fear about and stepping outside the comfort zone, but the knowledge factor when you're doing something that you're not familiar with or moving into new territory, that doubt about your own ability, etc. And so a big part of me, I tend to probably avoid that or put it off or do something else. So the big challenge is actually just dive in and get stuck in and do it. It generally works out okay, I suppose, when you come through it. But yeah, overcoming that hurdle is a big part.
Yeah. We'll just give you another minute or so, and then we'll be back into the main group. But good stuff.
Awesome, mate. Yeah,
Okay, unmute. Oh, it's just getting into that. That was fun. My group were too resilient though. They made me feel sick. I'm loving the challenge actually. Like this, yeah. There's lots of someone in my group said they're wearing too many hats. It has been really taking that as a challenge, which to me shows that that person's got a lot of resources available to them, despite the amount of pressure they're under and the amount of balls they've got in the air. But when we're feeling well resourced and well supported, then we kind of do interpret things as challenges rather than threats. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by stuff, you probably, our self-care is really important right now. Topping our bucket up regularly. You're starting to see things that become really scary to you. It's probably time to actually look at some self-care. Yeah. Okay. This is now the next part of this is, oh, God, you guys are onto it. Okay. Let's see how you've gone then. Even in the presence of the bottom left activities, what can you do to move closer to your values? Oh, hang on, this is not, no, this is where I wanted to, no, what have I done here? Even in the presence of, what, no. Okay, I've got my slides around the wrong way, apologies. So again, not polished, but what actions do you take? This is the one I wanted to go to next. What actions do you take to move away from pain, fear, or any other difficult emotions or thoughts? What do you actually do? What are your behaviors? So some of the things I do are blame, get judgy of other people. I have been having too much Chardonnay lately, and it's not helping. It has sort of relaxed me at the end of the day, but I don't think that that's in my best interest to keep relying on Chardonnay. So, in all honesty, so I'm looking at, I haven't been topping my bucket up enough with the work I've been doing. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So what actions do you take that actually move you away? So it seeks to reduce that fear or shame or discomfort. That's the primary purpose of this quadrant, is what do you do to move away from that uncomfortable feeling inside of you? So isolate is definitely one of them. Work-life balance. Oh, okay, so that's a good one, but work-life balance doesn't go here. It goes in the next slide. Or maybe it can go here. It all depends. It all depends on what the purpose of your action. Can I say that if I do this action, is it to try and reduce discomfort, pain, suffering, or is it to try and move me closer to what's most important? And that's truth, in my opinion. There's no one size fits all. You're the only one who's going to know what I do right here and now. Is this going to take me closer or away? And if you can sort that out into the matrix, actually, what I'm doing here now is taking me away from fear. Is it possible to, okay, yes. Lorraine says, is it possible? Lorraine, can you unmute for a sec? Is it possible to move forward to the next slide to enter the text?
Yeah, because the slide that I've got in Menti is the question, even in the presence of the bottom left activities, what can you do to move closer? So I can't answer that one.
Okay, hang on a second.
Unless I answer that and it will take me to the next one.
Oh, maybe do that. I'm just wondering if I know you're probably all looking at this now, that doesn't matter. If I'm going to another bigger audience on it, you should be able to move back and forth. I've got it on audience case. You can't move back and forth?
No.
Okay. Just answer it and then see if you can go back. If not, don't, just take a note. It's fine.
Oh, there you go. So I just had a hint from David. Just click submit without answering anything. Oh, mind you, then it says go back and I can't. That's all right. I'll answer that one and then it'll be done.
Yeah.
All
okay,
right.
then.
Cheers.
Thank you. No worries. So this is right. Now, do you want to just go again into a room for a couple of minutes and flesh this out? What am I doing? This is right. I shut off, I avoid, I act super confident, to cover my vulnerability. I stop communicating. It's the other person who is at fault or doesn't get it. Yep. I like that one for me too. Procrastination, distraction, opt out, self-care, reevaluate and talk to trusted people. That would be going into the next one. Shut down. I hope you're kind of getting the idea here though. Jason, do you want to put everyone into just a room breakout for a couple of minutes?
Yep.
This is great. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to join the group this time? You going to jump in? Or?
I keep forgetting that I have to stop share. Sorry. Yes, I'm going. I'm waiting for it, and then.
Put you in a different group this time. I'll jump in.
I just was really cold. I just went into bed and I stayed in my room the whole day because I just couldn't. Yeah, it's just like that was just one too many things on top of everything. And so I spent the whole of Saturday basically curled up in a little ball in my room being a dick because I'm the only one that lives in my house. And it wasn't until the next day that it was like, okay, that's gone, I'm back to normal. But I thought, yeah, that's really dumb. But yeah, so I just shut down and I've got to wait till I'm ready to open up again.
Yeah. Well, I try and be a little bit more over controlling with the things I can control in my own life when I start to feel that way. Yeah, just like clearing out the drawers and the wardrobe and just tidying up paperwork and going a little bit crazy on being organised. I'm trying to, and I think it helps me organise my own headspace at the same time because I'm keeping distracted in a quiet way and away from people.
I'm the same as last time. I think mine is I procrastinate a lot, and if something goes wrong, I'm probably the opposite to you, Carl. I laugh at myself. I laugh at myself and make fun of myself. I don't know if that makes it more vulnerable or what. I have a tendency to, yeah, make fun of myself, I suppose.
Well, I laugh at myself a lot because I know everybody else is going to do it anyway. I might as well get in there first. But that was just like, I guess after the last month of being by myself, that was just like one too many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I have a lot of reason to laugh at myself. I do a lot of really dumb stuff. But I found over the last month,
Mute.
Have we got
Share.
everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. So should we just hear from the groups? Was there any
Yeah, that'd be great.
common themes that came out amongst the groups? So, and I'll start with, there's 5 rooms, so maybe start with room 1. Was there anything common that came up or any similarities?
Yeah, I'll jump in there.
Delaney?
That was some of the things we discussed in the last breakout room was just around which was similar to our discussions last week, was just around how us fearing of being incompetent and not being up to the level. And the fear of failure was massive. And then we discussed some of the things that we could do. Avoidance was one. Some of the things that we could do, and being more courageous was having that mental shift of. Sorry, team, just went blank.
A lot of it was about understanding we're in a supportive environment, and then making that mental shift that it doesn't all have to be perfect, that we can plan and be structured, but being able to sort of roll with it, and whatever, if we stuff up or we can make those changes, and it's not a failure in that regard. And also understanding that whatever we're doing new is based on sort of the experience and the skills that we bring to it anyway, even though it's a new environment. So, but it's a mental shift, and say, right, let's crack in and have a go at this, rather than saying, "Oh, I'm going to stuff up," or what people think of us.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, cheers, Tomo.
I love that, because you're thinking about how you define success there as well. Like, it's not the perfect, it's not the this, it's the learning, and it's the authenticity with working with other people. It's being able to be uncomfortable yet still take those steps to engage with people. Like, you're really being clear about, well, what actually does success look like in this situation?
Yeah, well, and Kristen, we did talk about it just before we got back around success being messy. It's not, like you said, it's not a direct route.
No.
It's all of that stuff, and sometimes we kind of preach to be courageous, but and all of those things, but we sometimes forget to kind of turn that mirror around and ask ourselves, are we being courageous ourselves in this space? So yeah.
No, that's a really big value of mine, practicing what you preach, eh?
I think it also brings up a good point about we talk about creating safe environments, especially when we're working with developing coaches, but also what's our safe environment for us? Who's our support networks and things like that. So sometimes we look really external and like, well, we need to support all these people, all these coaches. But actually, we've done a lot of this Sporting Z trainer program is actually creating safe environments for ourselves. So also think about that. And people like myself and Guy, who's from Sport Taranaki, and Steve from Sport Wanganui, we're there to help you support in that space as well. So it's part of our role to create that safe environment for you, so you are courageous and ready to step across the line. What about from one of the other rooms? Who'd like to share from one of the other rooms?
Yeah, I'd like to share a little bit, Fletch, from my discussion with Steve. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so it was really interesting because it's been raised before when we've talked about honest and what makes us vulnerable. And Steve and I both connected about our age group and how feeling vulnerable in those situations where we're with a younger generation, perhaps, who have learned to be strong and in a voice. And I am happy to communicate. But just as you get older, you start to feel vulnerable about how much you can contribute, and that somebody that might want to hear what you have to say. And Steve's strategy is that he puts on an air of, sorry, Steve, I'm not going to talk over you or for you, but we talked about Steve was different to mine. So Steve likes to portray a mean of confidence, and it works for him. Mine is that I go quite a way, so it realises for me, and it's not so good either. But I think really there is something that you probably might not experience until you get vulnerable. Some people feel vulnerable in all sorts of ways for all sorts of different reasons. But one around the age is really something that's quite interesting for me. And so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or how a younger person might feel when they might be interacting with someone in, for example, my age group. It doesn't have to be about me, but just generally, Kristen, whether you have, you know, how we might view that or grow a little bit in our understanding of it, and how we manage it for ourselves as we move forward.
I missed a lot of that. I don't know if was it my connection was wrong, or Jason, did you hear much of that?
No, but what I could gather was this is around the age group. So the vulnerability about being in a more mature or more, I'll call more experienced, be more experienced age group, and dealing with younger age groups, and vice versa. Younger age groups then presenting or delivering to more experienced or more mature age groups.
Yeah, and not knowing whether there's a trust and credibility kind of issue, I guess, from both ends. That
I think one of the points, if I might just jump in for a second, is Linda and I are a similar age, and in our generation, we're very reluctant to make themselves vulnerable. I'm fortunate I've been able to move with the times, I think. But it wasn't cool to make yourself vulnerable in the 80s and 90s. And if you did, people could be quite cruel. And I've learned more. I think that the way in which we learn, that this generation that's come, and even the last generation, the way in which they learn and having an understanding of the practicality of what they do, and they're just they're taught to make themselves vulnerable from an early age.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn. But we didn't do that.
No.
It's a bit of a generational thing, and so we then have to. There was something on Sport New Zealand's website a couple of weeks ago, Fletch, about trying to teach kids the way we learnt, and it just doesn't cut it, because they learn differently to how we learnt. So you have to walk in their shoes, and that's one of the biggest skills you can acquire these days if you want to be effective as a coach.
Yeah.
End of sermon. Sorry.
You've raised 2 points that I'm thinking about there. Is that I agree with you in terms of the age, but I don't think it's just you, and you haven't been taught to be vulnerable, let's say. But you have to be careful about when you are vulnerable, because if I'm going to be wanting to get a pitch, I want to win some work, let's say. Well, I don't want to go. That's the performance zone. I don't want to go in and say, oh, I'm not sure about this. Hey, should we? No, you've got to nail it. You have to discern, when can I be vulnerable and when can I not? Because if I am showing vulnerability here with someone that is judging me, or has an ability to decide where my career goes, or then you have to discern about, well, what does that look like in this situation? That's why I think really knowing if you're in the learning zone here, or am I in the performance zone? Am I in the game, or am I actually safe in a training context, to know what the difference is there. And the second thing I'm hearing you say is that, I honestly think whoever you are, I mean, you have to be aware of generational gaps, and you have to be aware of culture and all of this sort of stuff. But if you go in with authenticity, that you want to help the other person and you want to build a strong relationship, then I just think it cuts through. If you're respectful, you're authentic, you care, you want the best for the person, you're focusing on building effective relationships, then that can cut through a lot of difficulties around intergenerational stuff. And you just got to be careful about the story you tell yourself too, because you always want to be problem solving, rather than getting hooked on the fear. Hey, they're not going to trust me. They may not do this. They may not do this. And then we're kind of then having to take action on our inner thoughts and feelings and worries, versus actually taking a step back from that and going, well, what are we dealing with here? What's the evidence? What are these people saying to me? Where do I feel the barriers are? And how do I overcome those? Where are the problem solving? Who do I need to reach out to? Is it Jason? Is it a friend? Do I need to learn more about this? You want to get into problem solving. What's the actual situation? And how do I make this better? How do I take it more to my values, rather than getting hooked up on the fear that this situation may present?
I agree, and we've done a lot of stuff in the last 6 to 12 months. You'll be aware of a website called, what is it called, Fletch? Trevor Reagan.
Yes, he talks about the zoo tiger and the jungle tiger.
So as I got into that, I realised I've spent a big chunk of my life being a zoo tiger. And at almost 65, I've decided I'm not happy with being a zoo tiger anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be a jungle tiger.
Yeah.
So
exploring and
yeah.
So that zoo tiger is up in the top left. Top left, and jungle tiger is top right.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be. You want to try and get yourself as much as possible over there, but don't do it alone either. So you have people to support you and guide you and mentor you. When we're caught up in our own head too much, sometimes it can get a bit zoo tigerish. So don't do it alone. Is one of my big pieces of advice.
Yeah, you don't step out of the zoo straight out into the jungle, or the chances are you might die.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that's what your brain will be saying too. You're gonna die, and you got to learn how to disengage that. Yeah.
Just looking at the time. Is everybody happy to stay on for another 10 minutes? Everybody got 10 minutes? Yeah, so we've got 10 more minutes.
Great.
We'll carry on. Yeah.
Did anyone else want to say anything? Okay.
Move on.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just going to share screen again back to. I keep losing it. My apologies. Where am I? Good. Here we are. It's hidden behind some faces. Okay. Back to my presentation. So you're really spot on here. The other thing I just sort of want to make from my breakout room is knowing whether the behavior sits into the top left or to the top right. So we were just talking, and no one knows which room I was in, or actually in my breakout room, if they're still here, if you would like to chime in on the thing we were talking about, then please just unmute and start talking for yourself. But talking about kind of this concept of avoidance, just giving a moment to see if she wants to jump in. No, okay. So if I am afraid, or there's fear, and I think, well, I don't want to make a mistake here, or I whatever it is, and I'm fearful, then I will perhaps avoid that situation, or put it off, or give it to someone else, or procrastinate. And then avoidance perhaps is not functional. It's not taking us to what we value. But and that would be then, I love this, it's zoo tiger. But if we actually do some self-care and some reflection and some journaling, and identify what is that emotion, what am I feeling here, why is that need to do the avoidance? Is it based on fear? Or if I then have a think about it and go, you know what, no, actually I'm exhausted. My cup is emptying, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So I've been doing too much and it's down. I actually need to now not do some of these things because I need to self-care. So I don't think then it is avoidance. It's a self-care, because it's taking me closer to what's most important to me, which is my health, my mental and physical health, and topping back up and self-caring. And we know when you're calm, when we have the parasympathetic nervous system engaged, which is through mindfulness and positive connection with other people, and being aware of what my inner monologue is, and is it being helpful or harmful to me. When we listen to music, we do meditation, all these things that we know that can activate the what we call the vagus nerve, the ventral vagus nerve, which goes through our face down through to our abdomen, and that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what you really want for a really functioning brain. That's what gives you most brain power. And we do that by self-care. And so if you're then thinking, well, actually, I'm not avoiding. No, I'm actually feeling burnt out, and I know that I'm not functioning at my usual level, and I'm noticing my thoughts are getting more negative. I need to self-care. I need to top up, and then it becomes a top right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And only you will know that. Let's go to the final slide then. I have to go back. So even in the presence of the bottom left, yes, even in the presence of the bottom left activities. So now we're in the top right. What can you do to move closer to your values? And this is in the middle of the matrix, which I'll just put up here, is you'll see me noticing. It's back to front, sorry. But in the middle here, oops. Let's just go back for a sec. In the middle here would be a circle as well, and you noticing what's going on for you internally, and then having the flexibility to say, if I just take a moment here to calm my brain, calm my mind, settle in, reach out to a friend, self-care, do some meditation, do some journaling, whatever it takes to get out of zoo into jungle, then I need to give myself some space to see what's happening inside of me. As I said before, if you can't name it, you can't tame it. Then we can notice that, and then hopefully I can get, even in the presence, what can you do? Yes. Then we can start to look at, well, what things can I do to actually move closer to my values? So we've got people answering quite a bit here. So let's have a quick look. So even in the presence of the bottom left activities, what can you do to move closer to your values? So I would say procrastinating probably, might be somewhere where we got a bit back and forth with our slides, would be in the top left, procrastinating to move away from fear perhaps. But taking us closer to our values would be doing things to increase our confidence, our personal growth, talking more, planning your day better, being open-minded and okay with me, seeing it as a learning opportunity and growth to support my self-development. So this is great, having these sort of attitudes. But let's just take it a step further in our breakout room to go, what actions, based on all of these kind of attitudes here, what can you take action on? So this would be an example here. Spend more time on tasks, start putting mindfulness into your day, do better planning. Working from home is helping with that. So what actions, behaviors can you take that can move you closer towards your values? So for me, that would be I have to walk. I know I have to walk, and I have to sleep. And I have to have some female conversations. And I know that I work better when I have these three things. If I don't sleep and get good quality sleep, I know my brain doesn't function as effectively. So it's sort of like thinking about, well, what actions can I take? What behavior? Even in the presence of feeling uncomfortable, I'm actually going to step out and ask someone for some mentoring, or I'm going to do this presentation and I'm going to say, hey, this is new and I'm not feeling so certain about it. So let's just work back and forth to see how it goes. So if you can do the breakout now, so I'm just trying to get my faces back, Jason, to see, well, what behaviors are you doing that actually takes you closer to what's most important to you? And then that's the final slide. So if you break out now.
Jace, Fletch, sorry, mate, I'm going to have to shoot.
All good, mate. Hey, good to see you. We'll keep in touch, eh?
Cool, buddy. Thanks, mate.
it's not to be exclusive, but for people of our age group, would you be interested in, I know it's not how you go, well, we did this in our day all the time, but would you ever see a place? It's been really nice to talk to someone and feel safe. We have each generation has a certain way of talking to each other, don't they? And you connect because you get it. And it would be really nice, you know, for me to bring myself closer to being what I want to be and who I am, it would be really nice just occasionally to talk to someone of my generation and to others. I'm making sure that I do that as well. But there's a time, like Kristen said, she likes to talk with another female. She's probably in a house of boys. It's the same sort of thing. We don't dwell on it because we're learning new things, but there's a time and place where it's nice to be able to do this.
Yeah. Hey, I love it. Fletch will tell you I love a natter.
Are you listening, Jason?
I am.
I've got a task. I've got a task for you two. We're going to set up, without being. Well, it would be nice to set up a little time when we can chat with people of our own generation. Not to say, well, it's different and this is how it should be done. Nothing like that at all. But it's a nice, safe place to go where people get what you're saying because they've been through it.
No, it's cool.
Thank you.
Hey, if you want to look on the Sport Wanganui website, you'll see my email. And if you flick me an email, and we can Zoom and chat to your heart's content for at least another 2 weeks until we have to go back to work, Fletcher?
That's right, yeah. I'm going to leave in the room right now, so but carry on.
That would be
You're muted, I think, Jason. Oh, good.
Good, everybody? I hope so. So
that's awesome.
There was about actions. So once again, just real quickly, probably some of the groups who didn't hear from last time, what was a couple of the actions that you talked about? What were some of the things that relate more to the actions that you need to take to move forward? There was a room for.
Oh,
Well, you go. Yeah, carry on.
I was going to say, well, with me, I need to practice what I preach. I'm spending a lot of time over the last month or so supporting my swim team, supporting my staff, you know, ringing everyone all the time, making sure everybody's great. And then I'm so busy distracting myself with things to fill in my time that I'm not great. Well, you know, not as great as I could be. And it's like, it's all very well for me to ring up everyone and say, no, you know, relax, don't worry if you didn't do anything today, chill, whatever. and then I'm busy frantically finding webinars in the middle of the night to do so that I'm not wasting time. I guess it's just, not being so hard on myself. And it's easy to tell other people to do that, but it's hard to do it for yourself.
That could be the whole seminar for me, finishing right there. I resonate with you so much saying that. I don't think I'm being too dissimilar, and I've noticed that my cup is completely emptied. And I honestly believe unless you can be compassionate, truly compassionate and kind to yourself, loving and kind to yourself, then you really aren't going to be able to consistently deploy that to other people. It has to begin with you. We burn out. We burn out, and then we're no good to anyone.
Yeah, very, very true. Fix everything that we do. Work, family, the rest of it. Thanks for sharing, Carla. That's awesome. Is anybody else? We have one more before we wind things up.
Our group, we talked about external factors and how that impacts a lot on us as well, and I follow a lot about what Carla's saying as well, because I've kind of been a bit the same as Carla over the last few months, but particularly us motivated ones who are always leading and always we do tend to forget to look after ourselves, and it's those external factors that that sort of, I guess, pull us up and make us realise that it's time to be a bit kinder to ourselves.
I'd have a self-care plan. That when you're doing so much, you have to think, schedule your week and go, well, in your diary, or where is the time for me? Have I put on my diary all these things for everyone else? So actually, where is it in there for me? That's what I'm starting to do. Because you can't keep up this pace. I don't think it'll have an impact on you, and we're all deploying lots of more resources. I think in Zoom, there's a thing called Zoom fatigue, and I'm like, I don't know whether, Jason, where did you want to go here? But I'm wondering even if we just have a couple minutes for a kind of just a wind down, quick progressive muscle breathing exercise before we go. Is that going to freak everyone out?
Well, if you're happy to lead that. But I'll just say, I'll just share, I know from my own experience, I had a number of different roles that I was doing in the previous life, and did a lot of things averagely. Had almost four different jobs, made up one job, but sort of tried to stretch myself too far, and did a whole lot of things averagely rather than a few things well. So looks like we're going to vote to do the wind down, Kristen. So if you'd like to lead that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we might even do a gratitude meditation, because there is a lot to be grateful for. You know what? Well, no, we're going to do a loving kindness one on that last note. So this is a 4-minute exercise. I love my little mindful book. I take it everywhere with me. And if you need to go, then I think that's okay. Just pop off. But if you want to stay and finish this off, then I'm really happy to lead it. So first things first is that when we get a bit stressed, and some of us will carry tension in different parts of their body, mine is definitely in the shoulders. And we also tend to, if we're not concentrating, we tend to breathe into our upper diaphragm. You guys are all going to know this. And we forget to get the beautiful breath down into our lower diaphragm. So I always begin meditations with just remembering that we've got a diaphragm that we need to fill. And I always encourage people to think about trying to fill up their diaphragm like a balloon. And if you are thinking about trying to activate that ventral vagal through the parasympathetic, some of the best ways to do that is through breathing, but the slow breath out is really killer here. So that's what we're going to do to start. So I get people to kind of feel their fingertips separating, because honestly, even the best of us will forget to breathe into our diaphragm unless we sort of remind ourselves. I get people to set their alarm like a couple times during the day just to see am I breathing right. So everybody just take a really nice, slow, steady breath I shut my eyes, so please don't poke noses at me or anything. It's just what I do when I do meditation. So, so everyone take a nice, big, steady breath in to their diaphragm. And then a slow, steady breath out, almost to the count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That really slow breath out. Nice breath in again. Slow breath out. And let's just do one more in. This time, as you breathe in, tense up your shoulders, let's say, and then with the breath out, just let that tension go and let yourself sink a little deeper into the chair. Oh, heck, let's just do one more. Nice breath in, tension up, and then as you're breathing out, force yourself to relax into the chair, letting any tension that's in your body go. And I'd encourage you to keep breathing like that. That slow, steady breath in, slow, steady breath out. As you breathe out, allowing yourself to relax any tension you're holding in your body, to let it go and slip out and sink into the chair. With your head aligned, keeping your feet planted on the floor and your arms softly in your lap. If you feel comfortable, gently lower your eyes, close your eyes, whatever you feel comfortable to do. We're doing a loving kindness meditation now, because sometimes when we get stressed, we start to get bombarded by negative thoughts, and it's good to do this to remind us to be grateful and kind to ourselves and others. So I'd like you to bring to mind someone that you love and that you respect. It could be someone from the past or in the present. And imagine them in front of you, sending you their love. Feel the warmth and the comfort of this person's love and kindness for you. Continue to breathe. As you picture this person, silently repeat to yourself, may you be healthy, may you be happy, and may you live with ease. We are all in this together.